Welcome back to SHOT Show 2019. I'm Steve, broadcasting live from the Brownells booth, and with me I have the one and only Bill Geissele. Bill, welcome back.
Thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure to be here at the Brownells booth.
I always look forward to this one. How you been?
I'm doing well.
Doing well. Every year everybody wants to know, what does Geissele have new? I remember back when I first started with Brownells, they didn't even know how to say your name.
There you go.
I get on the phone, they'd call you everything under the sun but your right name.
Well, it's funny. You know, my family's from southern Germany, right near the border of Switzerland. And my family, the Germans, we're basically a redneck from the deep, deep, deep south. So every time a German looks at our name, first off, they don't pronounce it Geissele, like hey guys, and Lee, like Bruce Lee. All right, they say Geissele, okay? Just like Porsche, it has the E on the end. So Germans immediately recognize me as German, but we've been here 200 years, so it's been Americanized, and we're all American right now.
Darn right.
So let me go over some of the new things we have. Usually every year we have like a whole slew of things, but this year we have some small things, but then a really big thing.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So first off, we're going to go over what I went over last year, and now these are in Brownell's hands. This is our Super 700 trigger for the Remington 700. And as everybody knows, you know, the Remington 700 is a tremendously popular platform, and there's some reasons for that. The action is very, very smooth, even in a stock gun. It's very easy to manipulate. They are sold at a good price point.
They are.
And of course, Remington has sold these things in every caliber underneath the sun. And there's so many hunters out there, target shooters, all kinds of people using these guns. So people have been working on triggers for these, very smart people have been working on triggers for these for decades. And now it was time for Geissele to put its mark in the bolt gun trigger market, and that's where the Super 700 trigger comes in.
You got the request long ago. People kept asking, when are they going to come out with the 700 trigger?
Yep. So, big thing for us, we want a trigger just like our SSA trigger, which is a combat trigger, okay? Just like our SSF, Super Select Fire, used by US SOCOM, all right, in their M4 carbines. We wanted performance, reliability, okay, all together with safety. We wanted that all combined, all right? And forgiveness, okay? We wanted those things with a bolt gun trigger. And in order to do that, we had to make it as safe as we humanly could. That was a big thing on the design parameters.
I can understand that.
Took us a long time to do that, but we also wanted the performance that you expect from Geissele, all right? So how did we do that? Right off the bat, we made it a two-stage trigger.
Okay.
Now this trigger is able to be converted into a single stage if the shooter so desires it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to grab as many people into the two-stage mold as I can, because I feel two-stage triggers are superior.
There's a lot to be said for that system.
Lot to be said for it. You know, I hear a lot of things from people who are like, you know, I want a single-stage trigger, you know, like a lot of tactical marksmen, they want a single-stage trigger because they get into these command fire type situations where three guys would be on a target and they have to fire on command.
Right.
And they say, I need a single-stage trigger for it. Well, I think even those guys would be happy with this trigger, because the second stage is there only when you need it, and if you need to pull through it quickly for a shot, you just ignore it and pull the trigger through, and it's silky smooth as it goes through. So let me go over some of the features of this trigger.
Please.
All right? One, you'll notice the bow on this trigger right here. Maybe it might be hard for you to see, but this is completely machined out of 7075 T6 aluminum. It's got a beautiful radius to it, just like an M4 carbine. It's beautifully smooth, and we went through many design iterations on this to get this bow just right. I had a lot of people give me input into just the bow. I was happy with it at one time, and my guys and some other people, specifically in the high power community, looked at this and said, no, watch, look, you're moving the gun when you pull it with this bow design.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Now I understand.
So we went through a lot of iterations, and the first thing you notice, that when you put your finger on this bow, it is completely natural how your finger comes around that bow. Completely natural.
You're not going to hook it left or right.
You're not.
Straight down the fairway.
Straight down the barrel. That's the first thing you know, and that speaks to your subconscious, because the subconscious is very much connected with your fine motor skills. And if you don't have the proper trigger feel in your brain, you lose confidence in your gun. So when you first start pulling this trigger, you notice an absolutely smooth first stage. Completely smooth, completely linear, no bumps, no hiccups. Completely will return where you started at any time. So if you start pulling the trigger, you can go right back to it.
And you're right at square one again, just where you were.
Yep. So then when you come to the wall, this is a second stage wall, all right? You prep your shot, and at the instant you want that shot to go just a little bit more, 6 to 8 ounces, and that shot is gone. And you don't move your gun when you do this. So effectively, if you think about somebody who's shooting a match, like a bench rest match, or some type of a target shooting type match where they want a half-pound trigger, 8 ounces, okay? You get that trigger, and it's in a safe trigger for hunting that you can walk through the woods with. You have your cake and you eat it too. That's what a two-stage does for you. You have your complete target shooting trigger in a trigger, Steve, that is completely acceptable for use for a police marksman or for a hunter. Everything in one package. That's what a two-stage does for you. Now, if you're a single-stage guy, it can be converted into a single stage. But I'm trying to tell everybody, take the two-stage, try it. If you can believe this trigger will pass the M4 carbine military drop test onto concrete from 5 feet with the safety off, okay?
Nice.
With the safety off, you could drop this trigger and it passes that drop test. It is an excellent trigger for the person who's going to be a hardcore hunter or the police marksman.
You know, I think a lot of people are just against two stages because they've had crappy two-stage triggers in the past. You know, the corn cob across the cheese grater effect, where
Yep.
you just...
Yep. Now, with ours, it's also a true two-stage trigger. Now, some two-stage triggers for bolt guns out there, basically you have your trigger and you have a sear engagement, okay?
Right.
So when you pull that trigger in your first stage, you're just pulling against a spring. You're not moving your sear. So it's always at this very, very haired breadth of engagement, okay? And it makes the trigger not pass a drop test. You can even cycle the bolt fast and the trigger goes forward, your striker goes forward. No, 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 all right? And what we found is some of these actions out there, specifically some of the later Remington actions, when you slam the bolt forward, the stop for the bolt is on the trigger transfer bar.
Oh.
The bolt knob does not stop on the receiver like a lot of guns. And that makes the trigger very, very sensitive. And some of these triggers out there, you can run it forward quickly, the striker goes forward, all right? Not on this guy. This guy you can manipulate vigorously, and that trigger will remain where you want it to because we start with a big overlap, okay? We start with a big overlap where somebody would say, no, 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 you don't want that in a trigger, but because it's a two-stage, and we have our precision wire EM cuts on the sears, you go back and forth just like this through your first stage, okay? And then when you bring it to here and you want to take that shot on that deer that's once in a lifetime, just a thought, and that striker's forward and the shot's gone. That's the benefit of the Geissele Super 700 trigger.
Agencies, military, police, whatever, love that engagement because people are dropping guns all the time or they're slamming them down.
Exactly.
They don't get taken care of.
Exactly. Like I know a firearms instructor for the federal government near New York City, and he does SWAT training, sniper instructions for local police departments, and he says there is never a time when they do an instruction that there isn't an ND. And somebody says, I never touched the trigger on my bolt gun, I never did it, but the gun goes bang. All right, now, here's the other way that we work out the safety of this trigger. It's the safety, okay? If you notice this, when you put this on, trigger doesn't move at all. There's a lot of triggers out there that when you put the safety on, the trigger will move a little bit. So if you have the safety on and you're gonna start taking up your shot, it feels right off the bat that you can pull that trigger and you start pulling your trigger and all of a sudden you realize your safety's on. With this guy right here, trigger doesn't move because this is a triple redundant safety. It blocks the trigger. It blocks the internal sear and it blocks the transfer bar, Steve. And the transfer bar is that lever that flops down and lets the striker go forward. It blocks 3 things all at once. So let's say you had a problem and you got a lot of dirt or gum or dirt in your trigger. When you put this on, it pulls everything back.
Right.
All right, so you can never pull your trigger and then take it off and then the gun goes off, which can happen and has happened out there. So we've done everything we could to make this trigger extremely safe, but with performance that you're just going to love. I was shooting this trigger at our industry day at the range. We had a couple 223 bolt guns there. You know, and I've shot a lot, but as I shot this, I said, you couldn't ask for a better trigger than this Super 700 trigger. It's beautiful, does everything you want. It's at brownells.com. Just go to their website and you can order this trigger for your Remington 700.
You always attract a crowd at range day, and you know people want to try it before they lay out all the cash for it, and they're always impressed.
Everybody's happy with it.
Yeah, it's a great system, but I love the way that safety just locks that gun up, you know, like you applied the handbrake.
Exactly.
The brakes are on.
Exactly, that's what it is. If you're a trucker, you put on your air brake and that truck doesn't go anywhere, right? That's how it is. You can park it on a hill and that thing's not going to take off.
Right. And you can't shift the sear engagement. You know, it doesn't change when you pull and the safety's on. None of that happens.
Yep, it's a great system.
Love it.
Now, we have another thing out there, all right? Actually 2 things, kind of combined, all right? We're finally making guns, if you can believe it.
Complete guns.
Complete guns.
Firearms.
And Brownells is going to carry our firearms.
Good.
Okay?
If it's got your name on it, it sells.
There we go.
I'm all for it.
All right, so here's one of them right here. All right, this is known as Super Duty, Geissele Super Duty. You can see the logo right there. You can see that keystone. That's a symbol of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All right.
Keystone State.
Everybody criticized me. They're like, you're putting the Pennsylvania State Police logo on your guns. No, they have the keystone on there because that's Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. But this is Super Duty. All right. This is one version of it. This is a 10.3 barrel, and this is in a color known as Federal Green. And this is a hard coat anodized. This isn't paint on here. This isn't paint, this is the Cerakote. This is Type 3 military hard coat anodized in this beautiful shade of green. The upper, the lower, the charging handle, and the rail are all in this Federal Green. This is just one version of it.
Very nice.
And you can see it has very nice Magpul furniture on it, okay? This is a B5 mod stock, beautiful gun, all right? Now let me show you the advantages of Super Duty. It's going to be all things to all men. That's the basic way of it. You're going to have all kinds of different configurations, all kinds, that you're going to be able to choose from, and I think that we're going to work a deal out with Brownells, and there's going to be exclusive Brownell configurations.
I hope so.
Yep, that are going to be exclusive to Brownells that you can go and purchase this. So as you know, Geissele makes all kinds of different rails. All right, let's start on this end. All right, this guy's set up with a standard A2 flash hider. The rail here is our Mark 16. This is our short version. As you know, our Mark 16 rail is provided on the URGI Upper Receiver Group Improved, US SOCOM is adopting. We go up to Mark 19 at this time. Some of them no one's ever seen because they're for specific military and government applications. Sure. But we really have 19 rails kind of to choose from, all right? Now, we're really going to focus on our 16, our Mark 4, our Mark 8, our Mark 13, our Mark 14. We're not going to do our Mark 1, which is beautiful rail, it has steel inserts on the side. But you're going to have a Geissele rail, and it's so well known for its incredible lockup at the barrel nut, its ease of going on and off, and its ergonomics. You'll find every Geissele rail. Everybody loves these guys. Now, the barrel, what are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to be making barrels in-house, if you can believe that. And like I said, all things to all men, you're going to see a lot of different things out there, all right? We've got a button rifling cell set up. We're going to have cut rifling. You're going to see all kinds of cool stuff. But that is going to be a Geissele barrel, and there's going to be some different and new alloys that people haven't seen before. It's going to be available on Super Duty, so it's not one thing. Okay, you're going to get all kinds of different options. You move over to the upper and lower, all right, nothing super special here. We love the forged mil-spec upper and lower. That's what we're going to be starting out with. Bolt carrier group, we have options, completely mil spec, Carpenter 158, high pressure tested, magnetic particle tested, 8620 carrier, hard chromed on the inside. We're going to have that. We're also going to have our own Geissele carrier with nano weapon coating. Nano weapon is known as Picatinny DSL, developed Picatinny Arsenal, so that the M4 carbine and machine guns like the M240 can run with reduced lubrication. You're going to see that in here. And not only that, Steve, we have a bolt made from a forging. Much higher life bolt. We have a testing machine that simulates the firing of a 223 round on a bolt. And you can put the bolts that you buy online that aren't very expensive, 12,000 rounds. You put a mil-spec bolt in from one of the main suppliers, 20,000. Geissele, 80 to 120,000 cycles on this tester. We're seeing tremendous life increases from this forged bolt.
The forging compresses the actual metal and makes it super tough.
Compresses it, but it also changes the flow lines around the lugs. And instead of...
And that's the weak spot.
Yep. So let's say you're splitting a piece of wood. You take the wood, you put it on your where you're going to split it, and you come down with your axe, poof, comes apart.
Nice and easy.
What if you turn that log and sit it there and it's sitting down like this? What happens when you try to chop it?
Exactly. Then you just bounce back.
You bounce back, and that's exactly what's going on with the Geissele bolt. You're going to see some really, really neat, unique things that we're bringing to the firearms industry that no one's ever done before. Now, you go over to the buffer tube, 7075 T6, Federal Green, okay? You go to our trigger, look at that special bow that's there. That's never been seen before. That is called our lightning bow.
Lightning.
It has a combination of semi-flat along with a flat face on this guy. This is only going to be available on Geissele guns. We're not going to sell it. Now, we go to the lower parts kit, and that's why I say there's some combination things here. We're going to come out with a lower parts kit, several versions, and they're going to have very unique things. They're all made in-house because some people, myself included, when we buy a lower and we want to build it up into a gun, we want more than a mil-spec parts kit. All right. So of course you have the Geissele trigger. Let's go to the trigger guard. Now this might be hard to see. All right. That is our ultra precision trigger guard right there. 5-axis machine on a 5-axis mill machine. Beautiful. Space age.
Nice
with a
faceted finish there.
faceted,
I love that.
absolutely gorgeous. Okay, with a unique way of putting this trigger guard on that's easy for the user to do.
Okay.
You go into your selector. That's a Geissele configurable selector, okay? Super configurable selector. These levers are manufactured out of hardened stainless steel, and you are able to switch these out for left and right versions. And you'll notice how positive it snaps from one to the other. It uses our Posi lock technology on this guy. And a lot of these levers out there that are configurable, they're loose. Okay, or they're made out of aluminum, which isn't acceptable to this. You know, I was once talking to a Vietnam veteran, and he was in the long-range reconnaissance patrol in Vietnam.
Alerps.
And he told me that one time he got into a firefight and he could not move his selector because he was carrying his gun against his body, and the sweat went into that selector and locked it up. All right?
Wow.
And he had to take his combat knife out and pound that selector to move. And by the time he did that, the firefight was over. But it always, that story, all right, registered with me, and that's why we do not feel that aluminum levers or a weak attachment point is acceptable for any type of a duty or military firearm. Beautifully tight lockup, easy to change out. I don't have an Allen key here to show you this, but this super configurable safety is going to be available at Brownells.
Pretty slick. That's
Along with our maritime bolt catch. And if you look at here, takedown pins, you have that beautiful tank tread finish, just like on our maritime bolt catch.
That's pretty slick. I
all,
like that.
all stainless steel, all nitrided, absolutely beautiful lower parts kits that are going to come with this guy. All right, now, how do you top off the cake, all right? You always want to put the candles on it, all right?
Yep.
All right, we got our own sights, our own backup sights. And as you can see here, this is one version of it, All right, we're gonna have fixed sights, okay? But I wanted to have a backup sight that you could shoot Camp Perry high power with.
Oh.
All right?
Okay.
A lot of backup sights aren't designed for that. They're designed
No.
for 50-yard usage. You try to do something at a couple hundred yards, you're all over the place. So as you notice, as you push this over, watch this lock up. Snaps into place. You could hear that. Maybe you guys could hear that. And look at it. Hardly moves. It's locked up. All right. Same with the front sight. Okay. When this thing moves, locks into place.
Very positive.
Can't knock it down. Half minute of angle adjustments on the elevation on the front.
All right. That's real good.
Half minute in the back, so you can zero your weapon perfectly. You're not dealing with 1.5 minute increments or anything like that.
Nice.
The other thing is, you can't move this unless you use a tool to unlock it. So once it's zeroed, there's no chance of this thing becoming unzeroed on you. Total security, all made in-house at Geissele Automatics. This is Super Duty. Watch Brownell's website for these guns. You're going to see some excellent, excellent things coming out of Geissele Automatics, God willing, this year. All right, stay tuned. We're going to have them.
Thanks a lot, Bill.
You got it, Steve.
Man, like every year you come through.
We try to every year.
You know, a lot of people say this market's dead, and you're just building it up.
We're trying to light it on fire, and you can catch some of that fire at Brunels.com.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you again.